Thank you very much, DJ, and a pleasant good evening to everyone who are listening to the On the Mark program at this time. It is Wednesday, the 23rd day of October 2019. And of course, my voice may be a welcome one to many of you. It may be a strange one to many of you as well. But I have been here in the past on numerous occasions. And it is certainly good to be back on the Mark again after a very long time of not being here. This evening, it is a wonderful evening on the outside. At least it is one of those quintessential Nivision nights. It's very cool, very pleasant as well. We had some fireworks in the sky not too long ago, some lightning. But of course, some showers. We experienced some showers earlier today, but it is very nice outside. And if it is cold in your neck of the woods, then of course Nevis would have been the place to be at this time. But of course, you can be in two places at the same time. So it's good to be here, and I want to say good night to all of our listeners. We do have a wide following here on the Mark. At least we've been here for well over, I believe now we're going on what, about 12, 13 years, thereabout. But we have had, and we have certainly developed a huge following over the years, because this program is unique in many ways. It is one of those programs that I do not think anyone in the Eastern Caribbean can boast of having a show 2 hours without any commercial. So it's commercial free. And it is designed this way so that at least we can interact more. At least you get a chance to call in and hear your views, and we have a chance from this side of the microphone to put our views out there as well. So it's good to have you, and if you are listening and you think that your friend or any of your families are not listening at this time, you can certainly give them a call and let them know that On the Mark is on. If I can recall back in the days when I used to be here, I interacted with persons overseas, they would say they would leave their computer on, running at night when they, well, at least when they are away from home, they would leave their computers running so that when they get home, at least they don't have to fight to log on. And I'm speaking about persons in the diaspora, persons in England, persons in the United States and further afield. So I know persons anticipate this show and look forward to us being here on Wednesday evening. So good night to the entire Federation. Good night to those who are listening down in St. Martin, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, the United States, and of course you have different time zones in the United States. You have the Eastern time zone in New York, well, from Miami or Florida, heading up the Eastern Seaboard, and then you have Central Time, those persons who are in Oklahoma, Kentucky, and those places, that's Central Time. Then you go across the Mountain Time, which is like Colorado and Montana and those places. We have Nivisions up there too, as simple as it sounds. We have Nivisions there. And then of course you have the Western Time Zone, which is 4 hours behind. You're talking about California all the way up to Washington State. I know we have persons from Brick Hill, of course, who live in Washington State, and I'm sure they are listening at this time. It's just after 4 there, so maybe they're commuting, going home, and are getting us live via our Facebook feed as well. So we want to welcome you, and this evening we have 2 hours with you, and we'll have quite a number of things to impart as we go along. The usual host for this evening, the Honorable Mark Brantley, of course, and Premier of Nevis, is away, so he has asked me to fill in for him, and he's away on official business, and we wish him well. We want to say good, is it morning? It might be evening, there in Japan, but he would have gone there on official business, and we wish him well and a safe journey back. Of course, there have been other persons who have hosted this show, the Honorable Charlie Liburd, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, and others. I want to say good evening to them, and I'm glad they would have given me the opportunity to come here this evening just to spend 2 hours with you, and I certainly appreciate that. This evening we have a show which would entail 2 different parts, in the sense that we have a guest here with us, and I'll get to her shortly. But the introduction that we just had with Peter Tosh, well, I am old school, and that's why that is one of my favorite songs. Sometimes I'm singing it as I drive along the roadway here at Nevis. Sometimes I listen to it on my phone wherever I am. but just so that the general public will know, you should know as well that Peter Tosh was born on the 19th of October 1944. So on Saturday would have been his 75th birthday. Of course, he has now passed, but he has left a legacy behind. So very good tunes, and I was going to play Stand Firm, but there's something in that song that I don't know if it's suitable for the airwaves, but I'm going to ask the producers here one of these days if we can play that song, Stand Firm. But it is filled with lyrical content, which is very much germane to our everyday living these days, and it's good to listen to those songs for inspiration and for some knowledge, because some knowledge is certainly being imparted in those songs. So, well, may his soul continue to rest in peace, but he was one of my favorite reggae artists, and sorry to say that, but everybody do have their favorite. Some will say otherwise, but Peter Tosh was my guy. So yes, you're listening to On The Mark. Of course, we're here every Wednesday evening. It is now 10 minutes past 8, and of course, when we open the lines, the numbers to call are 469-1616, 469-1700. Those are the numbers that you will use to get into the show. And of course, we always say that this show is one which is a family-oriented show. So once you get a chance to call in, you want to be on your best behavior. You want to respect yourself, first of all. Respect the host, respect the radio station. And of course, with all those respect, ultimately the audience would receive maximum respect from you as well, too. And that is what we want to do. And we haven't been around this long by not adhering to the standards that have been set here at Von Radio. I think that is one of the hallmark of this show, that we have kept it clean, we have kept it decent, and we have kept it going all these years because of all those attributes. And I do believe that you, as a listening public, can agree with me wholeheartedly as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I said that we have a guest with us this evening, and I will now interact with that guest. She's no stranger to Von Radio, I'm sure, and she's no stranger to the Nivision public. She is the assistant director, deputy director of the social services department in the Nevis Island administration. She is Miss Joyce Movement, and of course she's here this evening to speak about a big event that is coming up this Saturday at 5 p.m. 5:30 p.m. to be exact, and that is the Seniors Pageant. Of course, 2 years ago it was launched. The first one was held, and I believe the thinking then was to have it biannually. And as such, 2 years later, they're here, and they have 4 contestants. I've heard the advert on the radio, on the airwaves, and of course, it sounds rather interesting. It is my good friend there, Sandopi, who is doing that ad, and he has given that some life. He has given the participants some life and given them something to go out there and perform well, so that the persons out there who are listening to that ad will be coming with some anticipation of a good show. And I think it will be a good one, because the first one was certainly a delight. So this one, I don't expect anything different. So Joyce, welcome to On The Mark, and of course I'll give you a chance to speak, and then we'll interact. And I suppose you're going to have a little segment where you want to give away some tickets as well. So I want to get the listening public riled up and revved up to call in to answer your questions. I'm certain as soon as you give it, you'll have answers right on the ball. So be that as it may, let's speak about the show and what is anticipated on Saturday evening. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Jeffers, and thanks for having me here. As you said, I'm representing the Department of Social Services, specifically the Senior Citizens Division. And as most persons are aware, we are celebrating the month of older persons. We don't normally use the term seniors anymore, or old people. We say the month of older persons. Internationally, the month is celebrated, and actually the day set aside for Older Persons Day is the 1st of October. But here in Nevis, we like to do things differently, so we celebrate the entire month of October. And let me say here at the onset, October seemingly is a very, very special month. You rightly stated that Peter Tosh, one of the most popular and better reggae artists, was born in the month of October. Hooray to all those who were born in October. And so this month we have lots of celebrations, because we're celebrating Teachers Month. We have cancer awareness. We have World Mental Health Days in October. We have World Post Day, among others. So you know October is really a special month. But at the Department of Social Services, for us, October is the month of older persons. And before I go into Saturday night's activity, I want to thank all those persons from the onset institutions, agencies, businesses who contribute annually and especially this year to our activities. We had a month-long activity, and we started out with a church service at the New Testament Church of God in Jessups, and we want to thank Pastor Douglas for accommodating us there and his congregation. Then we had our outreach. We did something special this year. Every Wednesday in the month, we went and visited in different parishes, the persons, this most seniors who are not so mobile. We visited with them and spent some extra time with them. We also had a health fair at the Memorial Square on the 4th. Then we introduced something because we're looking towards a healthier society. We had the first walk, and we walked from the Olney River School over to the drag race strip and back. We had over 75 participants, and it was an awesome work. The oldest person we had there was 92. She made it. Yes, and quite a few persons came out, and they brought their families with them. We also had the Seniors Fun and Action Day in the park on the 11th, and so they had some fun. We had some fun races, dress up, lime and spoon, and those kind of things. And then we also had intergenerational exchange. Now, the intergenerational exchange is just as it sells. We go into the primary school and we interact with the younger children. We bring, bridging the divide, the age divide, we bring the youth and the older persons together. And we did this at the St. Thomas's Primary School. Now, this week, we are also celebrating with the persons at the Flamboyant Nursing Home because they're having a week of activities this month. And yesterday, we celebrated 90 years and over, the 90-plus persons in Nevers. And for a small population, we do have quite a few persons who are over 90. Actually, we have close to 70. So yesterday, we brought a group of them together at the Jessups, and we treated them to a luncheon. And then those at home, we took a token to them as well. Now, that is a recap of the month. So far, we have 2 major activities left. And our major activity is coming up this Saturday, October 26th, Nevis Cultural Complex, 5:30 p.m. is the place where all of Nevis should be. It's only $25 to get you in as an adult and $15 as a child. However, you should not be missing it, because it's the second staging of the Miss Nevis Seniors Queen Pageant. In 2017, it was awesome. In 2019, it is supposed to be, as the young people say, off the hook. Okay, so, yeah, so we're having that. Now, in our inaugural show in 2017, we did it a little differently. We were able to have 5 participants, each one representing a parish. This year, for some strange reason, I don't know, our seniors are saying they're stage shy, some family members have discouraged many, but all are looking forward to coming to the show. So we have 4 fantastic and courageous ladies. And I was at practice session with them this afternoon, rehearsing for the night on Saturday. And what they're saying is that they have new respect for persons entering pageant. They realize it's hard work, but it's good work. And so they are well prepared and ready to bring it on Saturday. Now, our 4 fantastic ladies. And as Curtis said in his ad, we have, according to Curtis, the evergreen Jeanette Grell-Hall, the energetic Idella Wallace, the vivacious Governor Butler, and the cool ruler Josephine Maynard. So these 4 ladies would grace the stage on Saturday.
And just quickly, 2 of them are from St. James. So it means that we're not shy over there then?
Apparently not.
I suppose if you had slot for an additional one, maybe you might have come
Well,
from
I
St. James.
did have slot for an additional one, and I must say, you know, the other one was from St. James's, but for personal reasons, she couldn't continue. So it was stacking up St. James's way this year.
Afraid of anybody. That's why we.
Is it because they're from the east? I don't know.
Well, no. Well, they say the wise men come from the east. I don't know if the shy persons also come from the east. I've never heard that one, but at least we know. Once it comes to participation, we are always
that is true.
Willing to. Yeah.
Because even for Culturam, you see the fun lovers. They
Fun
do
lovers have been around for almost 50,
yes,
25
and
years.
it seems to be growing annually.
Yeah.
So we don't have a problem with participation from St. James. Okay.
Well, the thing is, I must say that you have you spoke about at least the amount of elderly in terms of persons over 92. That is, sorry, the
90.
age of 92, and it
90
says something. Age of 90, sorry. It says something about what we are doing here on the island of Nevis in terms of taking care of our seniors. Of course, you recall back in 2013 we introduced a program, a social program to take care of our elderlies, those who are 65 and older living on their own. We would have offered them subsidized water and electricity. That, in a sense, would have eliminated or alleviated some of the difficulties they would have had paying for those utilities. Of course, there's also the bus pass program as well.
Yes.
Well, I have tremendous respect for the elderly because, of course, I always say, someone who is older than me, let's say someone who is 90 years old, they would have gone through things and seen things and done things and been places that I would never go in my lifetime. Because if you were born, for example, during the anytime around the Second World War, for example, I've never seen a world war. So the difficulties of that era, many of them who are alive today would have gone through that and would have suffered the social impact of that war and the difficulties with, sourcing of food and also, enjoying some of the basic things that we enjoy these days. So that is why I say there is always going to be a level of respect for the elderly, and the more we can take care of them, the longer they would live and the longer they'll be able to stay around to impart some of their experiences and some of their knowledge to us as young people. And you just spoke about the interaction with the younger folks at the schools, where you're trying to bridge that gap, and it is important to do that because that is how you would build communities for the future and instill in our young people some level of discipline and understanding as to what it takes to be a man or woman in this community. So I want to give high commendation to you and all of those who work with you and along with you there in the social services department and all of the departments in the Nevis Island administration and all of the community groups as well. So I can extend it and say the entire Nevis community who rally around our elderly folks and to make sure that they are comfortable. It is not an easy thing to take care of the elderly. It is certainly not an easy thing, but there is some joy and some gratification when you know you're taking care of someone who would have taken care of you at some point in your lifetime. So that is what I want to impart at this point in time. But you also wanted to do a couple more things to make it interesting this evening.
But before I go into that, I just wanted to share a bit from the United Nations, because a lot of people don't really know. Well, I would assume most of us know the agenda for older persons. Now, it is believed that by 2030, most of the world population would be 65 and over. That is quite indicative. And in Nevis, we do have an aging population, birth control and all the things, we have a lot of retirees and stuff like that. But the 2030 agenda and the sustainable development goals recognize that development will only be achievable if it is inclusive of all ages. Hence, the theme for this year is the journey to age equality. So by including older persons and promoting their active participation in the social, economic, and political life are ways to ensure their inclusiveness and reduce inequalities. At times, we inadvertently disadvantage the older persons by excluding them from critical decision making. Older persons, we must recognize that older persons still have voices, and they still have much to contribute to the overall development of their communities. So we need to include them in things. And so you see why we at the Department of Social Services is having a pageant. Culturama, we have talented youth, and we have the young adults, Queen Show. But our older persons have talents too. And not only that, by having a show, it is giving them an opportunity to do some things that they wanted to do in their younger age, but they were raising children. And there was no time for pageantry. Now the children are grown and they have all flown the coop, left the nest. Seniors are home, they need something to do. They need something to enjoy life as well. And so, why not enter a nice pageant?
Well, I'll tell you, Josephine Maynard is the eldest among the four.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, she might be the surprise on Saturday evening. I mean,
Don't
I
give
say
out
that
any
because
secrets.
I know Josephine is going to come out there and surprise a lot of you.
All of them are going
I
to come
see-
out and surprise
I see
them.
Governor Butler practicing her walk in Charlestown, so she's coming and Idella is herself. I mean, you see Idella walking to Charlestown. Idella is always light-footed, so to speak. So she is full of energy too. And of course, Jan would have played that ball for a number of years, still fit like a fiddle and everything, and she's going to come and bring her A
All
game
of
too.
them.
So I expect the A game from all of the
Yes.
contestants. So I probably think that you might be crowning 4 persons. And
Well-
how do you judge and what would be up for?
They are
for
all
champion?
queens. By just entering the show, they're all
Yeah.
queens. Also.
Okay.
Okay. Now, on the night of the show, we would have 4 appearances, but only 3 judged segments.
Okay.
We have the icebreaker naturally to set the stage. Then we have a sport depiction. So the participants would come out in a chosen sport and they would dress and depict that sport. I'm not going to reveal any sport for anybody this evening because
Right.
they have to come to the show to see what they're going to do. Then they're going to come in the talent segment. I don't know what any of them are doing for their talent. And then they have the evening wear. Now, after the evening wear segment, we have an onstage informal interview. That would not be judged. We just want to have a little chat with them to let them know what it was like, getting ready for the show, how did they feel, confidence level, just a wind down. And then we have one queen. We don't have any runner-ups, one queen. And that was decided amongst the participants. So, persons have to come out Saturday night to see. Because I know the ladies are bringing their A game.
Sure. Well, it will be something to behold on Saturday evening. 5:30 you said is starting time, and we're saying 5:30 sharp.
Sharper than 5:30.
Sharper than
5:30, we're
5:30.
expecting the ladies to be on the stage.
On the stage, well, that would be remarkable once that happens, and we're asking
Well,
persons to
I
come
can
out
tell
and
you, in 2017, persons got to be that all shows in Eve start late. So when 5:30 came and they were on the stage, persons met us. Well, we were met with a big rousing round of applause because we were on point and on time. And persons were at the gate flocking in because what? They thought 5:30 meant 6:30.
Yeah.
But 5:30 is 5:30.
Well, I know once you're dealing with the elderly,
We have
they
to
are
have
always
time.
prompt, and because
Exactly.
that is how they were brought up. Yeah?
Exactly.
You had to be up early in the morning,
Yes.
and in some of our cases, we wanted to stay in bed until 6 o'clock.
No,
they
no.
said 5. You're up
5
at
is
5,
5.
and you had to go down to pot work or wherever your community is. You had to go out there and do some work before you were ready for school at 8:30, and everything was bang on time. So at least, even until now, I do believe our elderly folks are always
They aren't that
always,
disciplined, I can
particular
tell you.
about being on time.
Especially for practice sessions,
Yeah.
they are
But
on
you just
time.
gave us a curveball there. You said you were at the practice session, but you don't know what the talent is.
No, I only know what the icebreaker looks like. I don't go to the
I don't want you
individual
to tell us,
practice,
but
right? No, I wouldn't have, even
just
if I
find it-
knew,
find
I
it strange
wouldn't.
that you are at the practice session and don't know.
No,
what
the
talent-
icebreaker. Because remember, each participant has her chaperone.
Okay.
So, yes. And, well, I came here tonight to give away some things too. So,
Okay.
maybe, might be
Well, it's
time
up to
to
you.
ask a question.
Sure.
Okay. So, in all of my speaking, I gave out the theme for this year's celebration of the month of older persons. So, tonight I have one adult ticket to give away by persons just calling me and saying, what is the global theme for the celebration of the month of older persons for 2019?
And what would they save?
They would save $25.
Okay.
And they can pick up, the winner can pick up the ticket at the Department of Social Services. So someone out there who's listening, not a member of staff, please, from the department, can call in and win yourself a ticket to the show if you're desirous of coming to the show.
And I can't call because I'm here behind these microphones, but I wrote down the theme myself here.
And I have some more tickets to give away too.
Okay. So 5:30 on Saturday afternoon, evening, we have the second annual
The
seniors
biennial, yes.
seniors pageant at the Cultural Complex. And of course, we do have a caller. Someone is trying to get in to win this ticket, so let's cross over and hear what the answer is. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good evening. It is the journey.
Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Hello, good evening.
Can you speak a bit louder, please?
Good evening.
Yes.
The answer is the journey of aging equality with the Hastings 60 plus.
Not quite. Think about it a little bit. You're almost there, but you're putting in too many words right there.
Thank you.
Thank you. So try again,
Very
please.
much try again. I think that person had
Most of it.
most of the words, but we'll
Yes.
try someone else in the meantime. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good evening.
Yes, caller. Good evening.
The journey to age equality.
That is correct. May I have the name, please?
Hazeline Huggins?
Hazeline Huggins.
Yes.
Okay, so Hazeline, you can collect your ticket tomorrow, or at least by Friday, 3 o'clock at the Department of Social Services.
Thank you.
Hazeline Huggins is the name, right? Thank you.
And congratulations
Congratulations to
Hazel,
Hazeline Huggins.
Hazelyn Huggins.
The answer, the journey to age equality.
Very good.
Okay, and I have another question. All right. We spoke about this being the second staging of the Miss Navy Seniors pageant. I want someone to call in and they can win another adult ticket by giving me the date the first Miss Navy Seniors Queen pageant was held. The date. I need the exact date. I don't need the time because it was 5:30.
Okay, so the date when the first
Miss Navy
Miss Navy
Seniors
Seniors-
Queen pageant was
Okay.
held. And you can win one adult ticket.
I suppose that is easy. If you had over a couple, well, you had a couple thousand of person.
Well, right, so somebody would have gone, you know, and want to come back again.
Yeah. So let's see who is here. Is someone holding? Not yet. Okay, so you want to repeat the question again?
The
quickly?
question is, give the date the first Miss Navy Seniors Queen pageant was held. And you would win yourself one adult ticket.
Okay, that's very easy, but we don't have a call as yet. But in the meantime, you want to repeat the name of the contestants again?
Yes, we have Jeanette Grell-Hall, Idella Wallace.
Okay, well, you'll continue just after this call. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark. Hello, good evening, caller. You're on the mark. We had someone there just now, but please call again, caller. 469-1616, 469-1700 is the those are the numbers you'll call. And as I gave them out, someone is on the line again. Good evening. We missed that call. Someone is there again. Okay, not yet. But you said...
Yeah, I was saying we have Jeanette Grell-Hall, Idella Wallace, Governor Butler, and Josephine Maynard. 4 fantastic ladies.
So come on out Saturday evening to root for Janet Grell-Hall.
Idella Wallace,
Idella Wallace,
Governor Butler,
or
and Josephine
Maynard.
I don't want to. Oh, I want them to root for everybody. But I know some persons have their special
person
section,
has
right?
their- each
But they
person.
all have worked hard. Actually, I think everybody's gonna root for everybody because
Well-
they're gonna be blown away.
That's true, but people do have their favorite.
And we're inviting our friends and family from over in Sinkers to come on over. It's a nice Saturday evening to enjoy.
As you said that, you have any means of transportation back and forth arranged?
Not really, because we're hoping the show would flow smoothly, and I think the boats run within the time frame. I think the last boat is about 9 o'clock, right?
About
So
that.
hopefully we
So
should
you'll have-
be
okay.
winding up. And then.
Okay, we have someone else holding, so let's go back to the phones. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good evening.
Yes.
The answer to the question is October 27, 2017.
No, check your date again.
She said October 27th. Okay, so that's...
No, it
that's
was
not
not
the date. Okay,
close.
Let's try this other call. This might be the answer. Good evening, caller. You're on the
Good
mark.
evening. I think I have the answer.
Yes.
The 27th of October 2017.
No,
Someone before you
just
said
said that.
So that's incorrect. Let's try this other call. Okay, the person would have gone. Yes, we have someone holding. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark. Yes, caller, you're on the mark. Hello, caller. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, caller. Can you turn your radio down? We're
25th
getting
of
some heavy
October
feedback here.
2017.
Hello?
You, repeat that again.
The 25th of October 2017.
No.
25th of October 2017. No, that's incorrect. We try the next caller. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Hello?
Yes, caller. You have the answer for the date of the first pageant?
Is it the 26th?
No. The 26th is this year's pageant.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's try the next caller. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Is it the 21st October 2017?
No. Close enough.
Okay. Well, we're going through the callers quickly. Let's take this other call. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
The 27th of October 15.
No.
Caller. That's
Incorrect.
incorrect. Let's try the next call. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
22nd of October 2017.
No.
Check your days. Check your days. Check your days. Okay, I'll give a clue. It was a Saturday.
It was a Saturday. Okay. Let's
Hello?
take this call again
Yes?
quickly.
Is it the 28th of October 2017?
Thank you, caller. Can I have your name? It was held on the 28th of October, 2017.
Yes.
What's the name?
Diana White.
Diana White.
Yes.
Diana White.
Diana
Yes.
Whyte.
Okay, so Diana, you can collect your ticket at the Department of Social Services tomorrow or Friday up to 3 p.m.
Certainly, I will.
Please bring an ID.
I will.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Diana.
Okay.
And, well, it took us some calls to get to an answer, but that's fine. It means that a lot of persons are anticipating and want to go to this show, and that is a wonderful thing, Joyce. You have another question?
Yes, I do.
You
Okay,
go right
this
ahead.
time you're going to get 2 tickets, 1 adult and 1 child. Remember, we're bridging the gap, so we want the children to come out. So listen carefully. I want you to tell me who was the winner of the first Miss Navy Senior Queen pageant, the parish she represented, and the sport she depicted. It's a 3-part question, so you're going to win 1 adult ticket and a child ticket. So again, who was the winner of the first Miss Navy Queen pageant, the parish she represented, and the sport she depicted? Win yourself an adult ticket and a child ticket. So you'll save $40.
This is
Very,
this
very
is a
generous.
weighty, a heavy one. So let's see what we
So
have out there.
weighty.
We have someone holding. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good evening. The winner was Maretta Hapser. She represented the St. John's Parish, and the sport she did was football.
Correct. God, wow. You were at the show, right?
No,
You were not the chaperone?
no, she's in my neighborhood.
She's in your neighborhood. Oh, so she gave you the answer? Okay.
No.
So can I have the name, please?
Kenisha Lyburn.
Hello?
Kenisha Lyburn.
Kenisha. Oh, Kenisha Library. Okay, so Kenisha, you know where the Department of Social Services is located? You can come there, bring an ID, and you will collect a ticket, an adult ticket and a child ticket.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was much easier than
Wow.
I thought. Well, it means that Kenisha is up to date with what is happening in her community, because she said that
She's in the neighborhood.
she's in the neighborhood.
That is so good.
Very
That
good.
is so good.
Very good. You said you had 4 tickets.
Yes, so I
mean,
come to
4
the
questions.
4 question. I come to the final one, and again, I'm giving away another adult ticket and a child ticket.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you are listening closely, you will get this one on the first call. Okay, so how you're gonna tell me how many participants are taking part in this year's show? You're gonna give me their names and the number of judged appearances they will make. Again, you're gonna tell me how many persons are taking part in this year's show. Give me their names, and you're gonna tell me how many judged appearances they will make.
Okay. Well, we have a caller on the
Oh,
line
God,
instantly.
that was
So
quick.
good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good evening.
Yes. Can you turn your
We
radio
have
down? At
4.
least we want to
Good
hear you
evening.
clearly.
4 contestants:
Mm-hmm.
Janet Grell Hall, Idella Wallace, Governor Butler, and Josephine Maynard.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be judged 3 appearances.
Wow. You were listening closely. Congratulations. May I have your name, please?
I'm Leonie Skeet of Shaw's Road.
Leonie Skeet of Shawswood. So, Leonie, you've won yourself an adult ticket and a child ticket to the show.
Okay. Thank
Please
you very
bring
much, and you have a pleasant evening.
Okay, thank you very much.
Joyce, I thought you said that your questions were so difficult.
No, I persons were listening closely. It's either that or they have been listening to the ad, which is a good thing.
Well, like I said, the calls suggest to me that people are anticipating the show on Saturday evening and are raring to come and want to be there. So at least if that is an indication as to what we'll have on Saturday evening, I believe it will be just as huge or even
Bigger.
well, I don't know if I want to use that adjective because I use huge. And there's no such word as huge.
Huger. Bigger than before.
So if last year was big, this year is bigger.
Right.
And then maybe next year will be the biggest of all.
Yes.
Our next 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
But may I throw in a plug here?
Sure.
Remember, our theme is the journey to age equality, right? Not sure if we can actually get age equality. However, we are being gender biased here because we're having queen shows. What about a male show, Mr. Debonair?
Well,
Are there any males out there who will be
you can't throw that to me because I'm not there yet. But I suppose
But
that,
we might be toying with our age range,
that is a
our
question
age
that is
range.
it's worth throwing out
Yes.
there. But you can explore that for, this is
For
what
next
it
year,
is.
the interim year.
Yeah, you have every 2 years the female show.
Right.
So at least next year you can start the male show, and then every 2 years, so you always have
Right, a show,
male,
right,
female,
interim.
male, female each year. So at least we'll have something to occupy our seniors.
And then there's another idea that can be toyed about. Why don't we go international? Because seemingly Nevis seem to be the only country I'm hearing about island around Leeward Island OECS having a Miss Nevis Seniors. Why don't we have a Leeward Island Seniors pageant or a Miss OECS Senior? We have
all those are,
all of those are
ideas.
options, those ideas
But
and
I
stuff.
like the idea of
Mr. Debonair?
maintaining what we have.
Keeping it here in
So
Nevis.
you continue to work at what we have and build it, make it the biggest and best in the
Yeah.
region. And of course, that would certainly augurs well for our efforts to make sure that our seniors are taken care of.
Right.
And Joyce, I did
Thank
say
you.
you can come for half an hour.
Yes, and I'm
but you
overtime.
spent 45 minutes.
Yes.
Not that there's any difficulty with that, but at least we have gone a bit longer than I thought. But that's fine. At least it was very entertaining, and of course it suggests to me, based on the calls that we've had, that persons were listening, are listening, and are certainly anticipating what is to come on Saturday evening. So if you want to go through some of the information that you've imparted before, so that you can, it bears repeating anyway, some of the things
Right.
you said,
So I am just
to wrap up.
extending a big invitation to all of Nevis to come out and support the ladies. They have been working very hard. So come on out, bring your rags, bring your flags, bring your children, bring your flutes, bring whatever you want, but make sure it is your best behavior, and come on out to the Nevis Cultural Complex on Saturday, the 26th of October, 2019. We start at 5:30 p.m. Admission is only $25 for adults and $15 for children. Remember, it's a child-friendly show, and we hope to see all of Nevis there. So please come on out, support the ladies, come on out, support Jeanette Gwell Hall, support Idella Wallace, support Josephine Maynard, and support Governor Butler. They deserve it. And I want to thank you very much for having me here. And I want to thank all of our winners and our participants in this evening's show. Thank you very much, and I'm hoping to see all of you at the pageant.
Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure having here this evening, Joyce. Indeed, we have done something this evening that I believe will ensure that you have a successful show on Saturday evening. We're going to pray for good weather and make sure that the rain gods, give us a little break on Saturday evening so that we can have a nice division night when we have this show at the Cultural Complex on Saturday evening. So, thank you very much, Joyce, and we certainly appreciate you coming by, and have yourself a safe journey home. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On The Mark. As we indicated before, we would have had a guest here for the first part of this show, and then thereafter we'll get into the usual interaction Well, it's a different type of show now where we'll talk about different things to do with government. Of course, my name is Alexis Jeffers, Minister of Government in the Nevis Island Administration, and when we come to this show, we talk about different things. We had a different segment just now where we spoke about some social services issues, not issues, but things that are happening in the social services department when it comes to our elderly, and now we segue into other things, which of course will be different areas of government that we are always willing to discuss with you, the general public. Of course, I gave you the numbers earlier. The numbers here are 469-1616, 469-1700. Those are the numbers that you will call if you want to get into the show. And we certainly welcome your call on any matter that you want to discuss with us. But in the meantime, we have a few things that we'll want to discuss with the general public, since we come here with issues that we'll want to impart and discuss as we go along. Well, as a Minister of Government, of course, I have different portfolios that I take care of from time to time, on a daily basis, on a weekly, monthly basis, or an annual basis, however you want to put it. But of course, these are ministries that are in my responsibility, and ministries that I'm pleased to report on from time to time. However, before I get that far, let me just say that I drove in here from the Newcastle area this evening, and I drove on the road from just about Cades Bay, Cliff Dwellers area, to the top of Cotton Ground. And while I was driving on that road, I almost forgot what the old road used to be, but it was a terrible road that we used to drive on. That road would have deteriorated to the point where we had so many complaints from the persons who traverse that area daily, or weekly, or monthly, or whatever the case might be. But of course, over the years, you would have been hearing, oh, what an honest mistake, honest mistake. That's all we heard from 2006 up until the NRP would have been booted out of government in 2013. And even after, up to 2017 elections, you would have heard about this honest mistake. Now, even while they were talking about honest mistake, persons were losing their shocks, people were losing their suspension, their bushing, their vehicles were deteriorating, the bus drivers in the area were complaining. Some of them who bought brand new buses were even so distraught about the fact that they had to put their new bus on a road like that. And all the time you hear about honest mistake, instead of trying to fix the road between 2006 and 2013, nothing was done. Well, I will say that we came into government in 2013. We did not have the resources then to fix the road, but we have always been saying that we will make an effort to get that road repaired, fixed, or whatever is necessary to make it better and make it more passable. Now, at this point in time, I drove on that road. It is not quite finished as yet, though, but indeed, it is a beautiful stretch of road. And, these are the kind of things that we look at when we are campaigning or we are speaking to our people in terms of dialoguing with the Navigation public. We find faults sometimes, but we don't come up with the solutions to whatever difficulties there are. I do believe that we have found the solution, and indeed we have actually started looking at the repair of the road from Cliff Dwellers all the way up to the Methodist Church there in Libert Hill. So we are going to have that road repaired early next year, because the finances at this time will not allow us to undertake it immediately, but we are going to do that come next year. I believe we have a caller, and this show is about interaction. So let's see who is waiting to get on with us. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good evening, my friend.
Good evening, caller. Yes.
And good evening to the listeners home and abroad. Carl Brown here, calling from St. Kitts. And,
yes.
And remember, I'm from Fountain, Ghana Party.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to address a few matters to you. And first, I want to send out some congratulations. And those congratulations is going out to the Honorable Mark Brantley, the Federal Foreign Minister and Premier of Nevis, and we also sending out congratulations to the Honorable Marcella Libert, the representative for constituency number 2 in Bastia here in St. Kitts. The Honorable Marcella Libert went off to St. Lucia a few days ago and was invited to lay the speech for the Labour Party there in St. Lucia. And also, the Honorable Mark Brantley is now invited to be the main speaker for Mia Mottley Labour Party in Barbados coming up this week. So we want to say that our people are going places. It doesn't matter what organization or what party or what sources they represent. The people are seeing our talent, they are seeing our aggression, they are seeing our spirit and our aspiration. So we are being invited all across the Caribbean and even all across the world, because we have been having town hall meetings across the world. We are being invited all over the world, Taiwan, all those places, right?
Well, it's interesting,
China,
caller. If I may jump in,
invited.
if I may jump in, caller, it's interesting that you're making that point, because I realize some of the things that we, some of the slogans that we have during our campaign here in the Federation, especially here in Nevis, they find themselves in the political landscape over there in the United States. For example, phrases such as "people matter more." I hear them using that in the United States too. So I believe you're right that we are creating some waves, and the impact is there in the international community.
Yes, we are.
So we should never underestimate our abilities and underestimate our reach.
We can reach to the highest heights, and we can reach to the largest, and we can reach to the smallest nation or state or country anywhere in the world. We have the talent, we have the aspiration, we have the spirit, and we have the desire, and we have the education to reach anywhere in the world.
On the flip side of that, too, we have to be very particular with our discourse as well, too, because just as the good is getting out there, the bad gets out there as well, too.
Oh, we have to be a little concerned about some of that, but the major thing about Honorable Minister is that we are highly educated, we are very highly spirited, influential, and we are also dedicated to our aspirations, goals, and dreams. And when people outside there see that, sometimes a king have no honor in his own country, but the people outside there who are seeing that are grasping onto it and say, look, I want you here.
Sure.
I want you to do this for us. I want to do this for our nation, our state, our country, and thing. And that is saying great things about us. We are small, and as the King Conway say, we are Talawa.
Yes. Okay. I join with you in congratulating them both as well. So you had another point you wanted to make?
Yes, I want to draw some attention to your Honorable Minister, right? Which I'm very concerned about, and many people in the Federation and across the diaspora is very concerned about. Number one, Honorable Minister, is about our voting on election day. On election day, Honorable Minister, we vote in all the constituency booths, right? And after voting in all of those booths, we start voting 6 a.m. or a little after 6 a.m. on voting day. we complete our voting 6 p.m. in the evening. And then we start gathering our votes to count. All of those votes that we gather to count, they are representative of all the parties and organizations that contest the election on that day.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I have with that, sir, is this. Most of the time we have about 45,000 people on the register, the voters registration. We don't get all of those people voting, right? But what is happening here, sir? We just had election in Canada. That great state, very large, sir. Millions of people are voting. And by 12 o'clock to 2 a.m. Tuesday morning, you know who was the winner. Yes, the government went back in with a small majority, but the government...
Not a majority,
back
it's a
in.
minority government.
Yes, but they are back in. And you know all your clock, by 12 to 2 a.m. Tuesday morning, who was the winner? We got a meager 45,000 people here. And we start counting votes from 6 o'clock. 8 o'clock we start sending out results. And sometimes 10 o'clock the next day after voting day, we can't know who is the winner. It is quite ridiculous, Honorable Minister.
So you're advocating for new technology to be introduced into the system,
Well,
meaning?
here are the 2 points I'm bringing this evening. We are to go by the technology way of counting votes. And the other thing, so, we don't need to send a transportation by all the voting offices or voting polling stations to pick up no boxes, to go all around the island, to come back to one main voting place to count them. By that time...
But Carl, you know that's a part of our culture and people love the motorcade.
What I'm saying, sir, we are done in with that culture. We have representatives of all the parties and organizations in the voting booth on that day. We have proper security there. Why not count the same votes right there, call into the main office and tell them, look, Honorable Minister, right? Troy Libert got 10. Carl Brown got 1. Right? Because all the representatives are there, the security is right there, and then the main person in there announced over the radio, Troy Libert got 10, Carl Brown got 1. Right?
You won't get an argument from me with that because I would support you wholeheartedly with that, Carl.
Right?
Because
We don't need to be moving the boxes and traveling all around the island. Here, Your Honorable Minister, Libert, the brake, all kind of things could happen to those vehicles. They could run out of gas, oil, water, coolant, brakes could let go, blow out of tire. All kind of things could happen to them. While we are sitting in our home with our popcorn and our hamburgers and hot dogs and all kind of things, waiting for the count, not knowing that on the other end, that the vehicle or vehicles break down, and then way in the morning, up to 11, 12 o'clock, we still don't know because the vehicle break down, you have to send other vehicles to collect the box. All kind of things could happen between there.
I accept your point, Carl, and
so count the vote in where we voted, call in to the main person that's announcing at 8 o'clock and every half an hour, every 15 minutes, and they give the count, and everybody would be happy because the representative of their security are right there.
Okay, I hear you clearly, and I believe what you're saying happens just next door there in Tortola. I believe that's how it's done because I think I followed
Yes, and you work very well, and you don't hear no argument with nobody saying, oh, there was cheat, there was box showing Cairnfield.
Well, you know, in the federation, things are always different around here. I don't know why, but we always operate differently.
So we have to change that, and that is what me, a voter, and a hard campaigner, is saying. We want that change. Where I vote, count those votes.
And that I do
Send them
believe.
in, and listen, by 11 o'clock, we start giving the count 8:15. By 11 o'clock, I should know Troy Libert win back his seat.
Okay, I hear you clearly.
Right? That is what we are
And
saying.
like I said, you have a supporter of that on this side of the microphone, yeah?
Right?
Okay.
We have to done away with this.
Okay.
Right?
Point taken,
That's
Carl.
all, boy.
You've gone over that again, but I accept your point. Okay? Thank you very much for calling as well. So, yes, like I was saying before we took that call, I drove on that road, and I just want to wrap up on that because what I want to say is that persons would have suffered for a long time and would have had to spend a tremendous amount of money. And I want to say most of the persons who would have suffered most, I believe, would have been the drivers who would traverse that road from the St. James area or the northern area of the island coming towards Charlestown. And I want to say they have had some relief, or they have gotten some relief. And I do believe that they are happy as a result. And I want to congratulate the Honorable Spencer Brand, who is the Minister responsible for public works and public infrastructure as well, for his job in ensuring that that was brought to the cabinet and approved, and we are now looking at a brand spanking new road. Like I said before, the whole idea is to go from the Cliff Dwellers area all the way up to Libert Hill by the Methodist Church area. That road needs some serious work, and that is afoot. So I want to let the people of the St. James area know that at least we're coming in that direction early in the new year to complete that particular project. Everything costs money, there's no doubt about that, and we would love to do things as quickly as the request is made, but of course the finances have to be found. But I know for sure roads are crucial to the development of any island, and as a matter of fact, I've always said that that particular piece of road, even though the people from St. James and those areas will traverse that road, of course, when you come off of the Sea Bridge, or you come through the Van Summer International Airport as a visitor, or you come through the new water taxi facility, that is the first road that you'll drive on. And of course, if roads are something to judge the development of a country by, then of course persons may have had their different views as to what we're doing here on the island of Nevis. But public infrastructure is important because that is where economic progress take place, where persons would use the road to get to work, to get to school, to get to various social events, and it is important to have roads. Yes, there are other areas in the sector that needs attention, which are getting attention. Of course, I can quickly touch on the project there at the hospital, the expansion of the Alexandria Hospital, that new wing that is being constructed at this point in time. I drove past there this morning, and I am amazed at the size or the expansion that is taking place there. I know what it was anticipated to be, but when I looked at what is there, I said, "My, this is a lot of work that is being undertaken there." And of course, this government continued to do development, or overall impact of our efforts are being felt in housing as well too. And while I touch on housing, let me say tomorrow at 3 p.m. at Lower Spring Hill, and many people would ask, where is Lower Spring Hill? Well, Lower Spring Hill is in an area we call Garners, and you'll still ask, where is Garners? But let me tell you how to get to this area that I'm talking about. When you get to the Newcastle Pottery, there's a turnoff right there next to the Newcastle Pottery, a concrete road. That would take you up beyond the VOGen Primary School. Keep driving. You'll get to the asphalt road that would take you up to University Heights. That is a new development that we're having a groundbreaking ceremony tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. Up there at Garners. It is University Heights. That's a new development, like I said, that we are introducing through the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. Of course, let me talk a little bit about University Heights, because in our 2011-2013 manifesto, that is the Concerned Citizens Movement, that is, we indicated that Nevis can very well do with an increase in its population. We have been grappling with the numbers as to whether it's about 12,000 persons or 15,000 persons. There's a debate. We always feel or have felt that that is too low a population size to have any overall positive impact on the development of Nevis. You need people, simply put. You need people for an island to develop. But when we say we need people, we're not saying that we need persons to be here illegally or otherwise. We're asking persons, if you come here, make sure you're in good standing. But we do need people because, of course, as the island develop, as areas open up on the island, you'll need persons in the area of construction, persons in the area of services. And, of course, when it comes to consumption of goods and services, you need people to do that. So at least you need persons here on the island to be a part of the overall development of this lovely island of ours. Now, why we stress we need people and we are introducing this new housing development is because we suffer from time to time from what we call brain drain, where some of our brightest and our best, because they are unable to access housing, for example, and because things are not going as they would like to have it go at this point in time. Many would migrate to other countries or other islands. But housing for sure is a sure way of keeping our brightest and our best there in Nevis. So we would have placed in our manifesto, and I believe I have our manifesto here, so I'll quote the exact page. It's page 48 of our manifesto, where on the population growth, we did indicate that is our view that the population of Nevis has to be encouraged to grow. And I did say that it's roughly about 12 to 15,000 people here on the island, give or take. But it is crucial that our population, some population growth is done to trigger sustainable development here on the island of Nevis. Now, what we are saying with this particular development is that we're going to provide incentives to our Nevisian studying abroad who are intending to return home or who have already returned home after graduating. We are providing them with this incentive whereby we are offering them up to 8,000 square feet of land at a concessionary price of just $1 per square foot. And this is provided that they have been resident in Nevis for at least 5 years or more after they have graduated. There were some discussions over the last couple of months as to whether it is up to 5 years. We are saying, and it is here, that you have to have been back to Nevis and working in Nevis, whether in the public or private sector, for up to 5 years or more after graduating. And that is one of the, or those are some of the qualifying standards or things that you would need to meet in order to qualify for a spot there at University Heights. I'll just quickly say that at least we have introduced some new styles as well of houses. We have someone holding. Well, I believe we have time to come back to this. Let's give the caller a chance to get in. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Yes, good evening. How you doing? One try. Good
evening, yes, caller. Keep your voice up.
And the buses then, and so what, they're supposed to give an indication things to passing the road. Because some of them, they're still stopping them that we could pass across the road and they wouldn't even stop.
What's that, the houses? What are you talking about?
I said the buses then, and vehicles, when we're passing and we are on foot passing, they wouldn't even stop to see us pass across the road. The full speed to tell.
You mean when you meet one of those pedestrians, you're talking about when you get to one of those pedestrian crossings?
Yeah. So, they just pass us, and they wouldn't stop by the themselves, yeah. The one thing them can do it, yes.
Well, of course, the law is there, and all of the operators here on the island of Nevis and Instant Kits, they know what the law is.
Then they just don't pick up the speed from where they're coming from. They can't even stop neither. And some of them they see you there, and they wouldn't stop that you could pass neither.
Well, let's hope that you appeal for them to
and
slow down and
let
give you...
the ambulance pass, and they wouldn't let the fire truck pass, and they're supposed to give way put them there to pass, and they wouldn't slow the government. No, you know, they have
those-
the furniture go blow, and they still one put in and destroy it.
Well, those habits have
Yeah.
to change. So at least you're an
Yeah.
advocate for that, and
Okay.
you've
I hope
put
it is
it
going
out
to
there.
fix you.
You've put it
Yeah,
out there, so
alright.
hopefully they've heard you.
Fine. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So I was speaking about University Heights, and I was going through the fact that we have introduced this program, and let me just give you an idea as to the type of houses and the cost. Now we are constructing 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and these are new designs that we would have introduced for this particular program. They're a bit more expensive than the usual or the typical affordable income houses that we would construct. So you're looking at houses valued at just about $350,000, and once persons qualify in terms of the application process, they go to the NHLDC, they apply there, and of course they go through a qualifying process. They would first have to meet the requirements that I indicated before, that at least they've been back in Nevis for 5 years or more, and they would also have to meet the requirements of the lending institution that we have had a partnership with for the last couple of years, that is the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union. But also, persons can get a mortgage from their own bank or their own lending institution. But if they were to go through the program that we have with the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, it therefore means that there is a down payment that is required of just $15,000. Most times, if you are familiar with the conditions of the commercial banks here on the island of Nevis, they would normally ask for somewhere around 20% of the cost of the house. So if, for example, it is a $350,000 house, 20% would be just about $70,000. I do not believe any young persons around here can easily meet that requirement of 20% down payment on a mortgage of $350,000. But of course, we're asking for just a mere $15,000 down payment, and then of course the mortgage is handled through the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union. The interest rate is a mere 5%, and you get up to 25% years to repay that mortgage. Now, why we are able to do this is because we have also partnered with the Social Security Board. We did borrow $15 million from the Social Security Board, where we would have used thus far some of that money to build affordable income houses, and also this particular program was also included in that mortgage which we would have gotten from the Social Security Board. So what we are trying to do is to ensure that our young men and young women who are aspiring to own a home and have had the challenges of finding the necessary down payment or even securing land to construct a home, we are offering these conditions to them of, and I want to repeat again, the lot that the house will be built on is 8,000 square feet, and the land would be sold at $1 per square foot. Let me also say that no one should call the corporation and ask for the land and not a house with it. It is a package. So you get 8,000 square feet at $1 per square foot, and then we would construct that house for you. You can secure a mortgage through your own lending institution, or you can come to the corporation, sit with us, and then you are given the opportunity, once you qualify, to access the scheme that we have through the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, which of course are monies that we would have borrowed from the Social Security Board, an amount of just about $15 million. So that being said, we do believe that this program is geared toward those who are having difficulties, but you have been back here for many years and are struggling to get into a home. We have made it a little bit easier for you. Now, the area I'm talking about up there at Garner's, we have just about, I believe, 13 or 15 lots. We're hoping to secure additional lands in the future to build more homes. Many may say, well, this is late because I was looking for a house 5 years ago. Well, of course, not every program that is introduced by a government is accessible to everyone. Even though a government would have the best intentions to secure for everyone, everyone would not always qualify and always get some of the they get access to some of the programs that the government would introduce. I am sure there are programs that other persons benefit from that others won't. For example, I did mention earlier that we introduced a program in 2013 for seniors, 65 and older, where you get subsidized water and electricity, where you pay, I believe, the first $150 is covered by the government for electricity, and the first $30 of water consumption is also covered. Now, that is 65 and older. That is for a particular age group, of course, yes. So persons like me, I'm not there yet, but hopefully someday I may get there with God's help and access that type of, or those type of services. But in this case, this is for persons who would have graduated and have been back in Nevis and contributing to the development of Nevis for the last 5 years or more. They are able to access this particular program that we've introduced. And there are other persons who are accessing the affordable income program that we have as well. And of course, persons who have, well, who are not considered in the affordable income bracket, they have gone and built other houses, of course, which are more expensive. So there is always something for someone or some persons in the community. And it's debatable as to whether this is a program that is the right one at the right time. We feel it's the right one at the right time, because if you can capture some of these persons who would want to keep here, the brightest and the best, you know what would happen eventually? They would start a family right here on the island of Nevis. Whether they get 2 children, 4 children, I don't know what their appetite is for. But of course, once you have these families growing here on the island of Nevis, it means that the population will continue to grow. It means that you'll have your nationals right here building their own island, and it must have a positive impact in the long run. And that is why I believe this program will work, and it will have a direct impact on the development of the island of Nevis. Long have been the argument that our brightest and best are going abroad. We have engineers who are going to go up there at University Heights. We have persons who are in business already here on the island of Nevis who would go up there to University Heights. We have persons in the medical field who would go up there as well. There are persons in all different sectors here on the island of Nevis who have already applied and will be successful in getting a home up there at University Heights. So I want to congratulate all those who have applied and all those who have been successful thus far. Even though we are having the groundbreaking ceremony tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m., I want to say to you, we have started constructing one house already. And persons can drive up and have a look. It is a lovely area. At least I want to use the adjective that it's a panoramic view of the entire Atlantic and Caribbean Sea on that particular side of the island, because you know the Atlantic and Caribbean Sea, the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea meet somewhere in the Oahu Beach, you know, Nags Head area, that particular area, and you can see that area from up there. You can see all the way into the peninsula, Southeast Peninsula. So I believe it is a good area for our people. No area here on the island of Nevis is too good for our people. Anywhere that you live here on the island of Nevis, you should be able to live in comfort. You should enjoy where you're living and be proud of where you're living, because this island belongs to all of us. It belongs to you, it belongs to me, it belongs to all of us. And all of us should have a spot here on the island that we want to enjoy for the rest of our lives. So I want to say that that is a wonderful program that we're about to introduce, or we're introducing to the public here on the island of Nevis. So University Heights, we have that groundbreaking ceremony tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. And I want to invite one and all to come on up and have a look. And if you're just driving around and want to see what that area is like, just turn off right there at the pottery, like I said, and keep driving up towards the mountain. You can't miss it. Of course, there are no signage, but you'll get an idea. But in the meantime, I want to thank the personnel and persons there at NEVLEC for their effort in ensuring that we have electricity up there, at least for tomorrow as well, because they've been working feverishly to get the infrastructure in place. I want to also thank the Nevis Water Department for their efforts in ensuring that the water lines are put in as well too, because we want to have infrastructure in place once the actual construction, not only of University Heights, but lower down there, persons who would have bought lands and are ready to construct. Because we've had a boom in the construction industry here on the island of Nevis over the last couple of years, and it's continuing. And we have played a major part at the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation in ensuring that construction continues here on the island of Nevis. We have built quite a number of affordable income houses and also private houses, or houses on private land as well. And we're proud of our efforts and our input into the economy. I want to also say that, of course, this is the 35th anniversary. This year marks 35 years since the establishment of the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. It was established in 1984 through an ordinance which ensured that all of the lands here on Nevis, or the lands here on Nevis, are vested in the NHLDC. Well, let's put it this way. Crown lands are not vested in the NHLDC, but of course, NHLDC, to sell those lands, will then have to get what is called a Crown grant. But essentially, Nevis Housing and Land ultimately will be the one, or is the entity that sells, lease any government land here on the island of Nevis. So I want to say that 35 years later, we can always look at the achievements of the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation under the various ministers. I believe the first minister was the Honorable Arthur Evelyn, and then we had the Honorable Malcolm Gishard, if I'm not mistaken. At some point then you had the Honorable Livingston Herbert, I believe. He was the Minister of Agriculture at one point. And then we had the Honorable Roberto Hector, and of course I have been the Minister of Agriculture since 2013 until now. So we've had some major developments under the various ministers and different government up to this point in time. Of course, the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation has had its challenges, of course, over the years. At least it is one of those institutions that, if not managed properly, can have some difficulties. And of course, we have tried our best since 2013 to undo some of the difficulties that we would have met there. But to this point in time, I cannot say that we have a lot of cash sitting around like some other governments may have had, but little is much, and we have done the best with the little that we've had. As a matter of fact, we have turned around the circumstances there to the point where we can say that we're providing under the ordinance, the mandate that was given to the corporation of providing affordable income houses. We're selling land still, even though it's not as robust as before, but we're also leasing lands. And while I touch on leasing, I want to send out a caution, not necessarily a caution, but an appeal to all those persons out there who are leasing government lands and are so far behind in arrears. It is creating some difficulties for us at the Nevis Housing and Land. We are asking you, those of you, there's no need to call names or get anywhere close to calling names. All who are leasing and you know that you're in arrears for up to 14,000, 15,000 and more, I am asking you to make an effort to make some payment to the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, because one thing I can say to you, those lands are still under the ownership of the NHLDC, even though you have ownership to it at this point in time, since you would have signed a lease. But in that lease, it indicated that you should pay a monthly fee of XYZ. And we're asking you to bring your accounts up to date because we need the finances. There's no need for you to occupy lands while others have to pay, others have to buy, but you're leasing and not paying. It is not the right thing to do. And I'm not saying this in a negative way in order to cast any aspersions here on anyone, but I'm saying that if you have a contract, you have an agreement to pay X amount at the end of each month, all I'm asking you to do is to honor your obligations and pay your fees to the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. What I want to say is that for a country to develop, all of us have to play our part. And for a government to survive, it does need the resources. And resources meaning the resources in terms of cash, hard cash. And that is why I'm saying those of you who have obligations to the NIA, in whatever shape or form, please make an effort to pay accordingly. If there are difficulties, you just have to let someone know. Whatever the entity is, have a discussion with them. Even with your bank. If you have difficulties paying your mortgage, there's no need for you to sleep in your house every night and just don't do anything about it. The bank is going to come knocking. And all you have to do is to sit with your lender and have a discussion. And I'm sure in every case they'll try their best to work with you. Well, we want to work with you as well because we need the cash. In order for us to do more, in order for us to accomplish more, we do need the cash. And that is why we're asking you to honor your obligations to the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation or even to the NIA in any shape or form that you owe anything. Try and make an effort because with those finances we can go ahead and build more houses. We can put in the necessary infrastructure. We can do whatever repairs need to be done once they are repairable. We can do whatever is necessary. We can also assist the central government if there is assistance needed, because from time to time we're called upon. Now, the central government itself, if you owe the central government, which is the NIA, then of course, you know, they have to provide social services. They have to provide health care. They have to provide resources in the area of education. And for all that to happen, money is needed to do that. And if it is that the government is unable to find the necessary resources in terms of cash or money, then it means that there will be some deficiencies in that area. And of course, persons will start to say the government is not doing this, or the government is not doing that, or the government is not doing what they're supposed to do. But as they say sometime in our local parlance, money is what makes the mayor go. And once you're able to provide those resources to the government can do much more. And that is just an appeal that I've put out. Yeah, I know I went off from the original topic of University Heights, but anyway, it was important to put that in. And I'm sure that those of you who have no difficulty with me saying that will go ahead and make your best effort, put out your best effort to go and pay up those necessary arrears that you owe, whether it's to the NHLDC or to any area of government which the resources are so needed. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark. It's just about 25 minutes past 9. Of course, we're here until 10 p.m. this evening. And I don't want persons to wait until 5 minutes to 10 to call in, because at 5 minutes to 10, we're wrapping up the show. So if you have anything that you want to impart at any point in time, feel free to call, and we'll be more than happy to engage you. But while I'm at that, let me also say quickly that one of the areas that I am responsible for, when I say responsible for, the overall construction of rebuilding and construction of the Newcastle Police Station fall under my responsibility, not only as the representative for the St. James area, but I can recall back in 2016, after some discussions with the police, the High Command of the Police, St. Kitts, the Royal St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force. We had, I believe, then the Commissioner of Police, we had the Superintendent of Police at that time, and a few more persons from the High Command. They came to meet with us as a cabinet, and the discussions then was the actual deplorable situation that exists over there at the Newcastle Police Station. Well, I would have known about it because I saw it firsthand in 2013 when I got into government, and it was always my intention to do something about it. As a matter of fact, when we got into government, it bears repeating as well, and some might say we talk about it over and over again, but there is no difficulty, in my opinion, to let the general public be aware or remind the general public as to what was there, because we can so easily forget when we look at what is there now, but there is a history behind the whole situation over there at the Newcastle Police Station. When we got into government, I went there, did a visit, and of course it was a deplorable situation. You had electrical wires that were pretty much hanging down out of the roof. Water was coming through conduit, and it was rat infested, roaches, and all kind of mess was there. And it was difficult to fathom at that point in time. Well, not really difficult, but to really think about persons living in that particular condition was really not so nice a situation. But I'll get back to that because persons maybe are fed up of hearing me talking, so they want to call in and dialogue. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good night, Mr. Honorable Minister Chai Liber. How are you doing?
Well, this is not Troy Liber, this is Alexis Jeffers, but a Minister of Government
The
too.
Deputy Premier?
That's correct.
Good night, Honorable Deputy Premier. How are you doing?
I am doing well, and
Premier
hopefully you can say likewise.
Well, give thanks for life, me give thanks a lot.
Mm.
I'm just listening to the program. It's not really catchy from the beginning of start, but I will just say what from what I heard, you are indicating about the support to stable the development of Nevis and the economy and the collaboration between the federation aspect. I'm like to say that we need to really put more emphasis at the global approach when we see how we stimulate yourself to start applauding with the trading route and the appliance that come within the economical, as they say, investment. You see? And one other thing I would like to say, Mr. Deputy Premier, some of these investments don't really come to create the better strive of social equality amongst ones on ones. And we know these investors are not basically the people who really will look into stable development, sustainable growth in the region, island. And we see these experiences over the years. But we just continue because we feel like this is the capacity we can create as economical market, and we say it's time now we are the people that moving out of those things because some of those things don't really been.
So, Carla, how can we get more local people? Or what would you suggest that we do for more locals to get them to invest instead of depending on the foreign
simple
investor?
context, And it's all we could really look at is all of the formality that we see was stable within the economical development and stability that was under the former aspect of the colonial power. So if you are going to tell me those people could have succeed from our work of labor, or our people have to pursue of economic power. Why is it that we now who have the intelligent mind, as we say, of the illiterate race that we create, we say, and we can pursue ourselves as a collective?
Yeah.
But we can look at an individual aspect somewhere, and then we look at the
let's look at some solutions, Carla. And I know I hear you what you're saying, and you're using some sophisticated terms.
Hear me say now, Mr. Minister. Hear me say, we shall able to project ourselves into more agricultural aspects.
Agriculture,
so
okay.
We can create better emphasis in our local market and even the regional market, because the global market don't have enough sustainable for us as a people when it comes to us providing those markets.
Let me engage you for a minute or two. Agriculture.
Yeah, you're right. You may.
Let me engage you for a minute. Let's look at agriculture. Very important sector. And you talk about regional trade and so forth. But some of the challenges that we are facing agriculture regionally is actually, first and foremost, the access to market is there, but I believe one of our biggest challenges is transportation. How do we get around that?
That's a good point, because you see, for instance, the transportation thing is it could go by a boat or by a plane. You see?
Okay.
According to the angles that we need to supply in that angle.
So if we look at boat, how we should start thinking then? You know, in the Windward Islands, they produce a lot of banana and whatever else, right? It would be nice to know that a boat leave down there with bananas or whatever other provisions come to St. Kitts Nevis. But the difficulty is we don't have anything sending back. That is where we have to start thinking, eh? The Dominica boat comes here all the time. What do we put on it to send it back to Dominica? Anything?
Nothing.
So that is how we have to change our thinking.
The only thing back is the dollar, or the dollar of the emphasis.
What we want to do is to buy their bananas, yes, and then sell them something. So if they were used to go back with $10, then they're going back with $5, so they leave $5 behind. It's like
that's a sustainable development both in our region, because the market is circulated.
These are the kind of things we have to debate and think about. Here's another thing. Some time ago, I believe it was last year, I engaged an operator of a boat that normally brings sand, for example, from Guyana. And I was able to, not I, but the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation was able to ship 2 boatloads of stones, crushed stones, back to Guyana. You know what the opposition started saying? Oh, you're making the money. It's a waste of time. You know, trying to fight down an operation that we felt could have been sustainable. They didn't prevent us from doing so, to continue with it. But what I'm saying, I am always the believer that if boats are bringing stuff here, we must be able to put something on to send it back. That's why when you brought up agriculture, we now have to think about something that we can send back to the Windward Islands that they're not producing there, for example, in abundance that we can produce here. And I'm certain there must be something that we can get into in agriculture and get it on those boats to send it back. Just like how we were trying to send stones back to
I
Ghana.
want to make a reference to Mr. Minister about the two panels that between the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Sea. And you talk about the area that you can see the beauty surrounding those aspects from Nevis ends and the St. ends. What we like to say, there's a lot of history, and our people need to really put more emphasis to the history aspect of both the islands. They have different derivatives of how they customary have created, but basically they have a good similarity with how they do the cultural aspect towards one another.
Point taken. And I appreciate your call, but we have someone else holding.
I will give thanks, and I would just like to say, Mr. Minister, on this one. This time now we pass some more emphasis for educational, sustainable development to our people, young, old, and even in between, because the people need to have a good standard in our future development.
And when you have a debate about agriculture, let us start to debate how we can get food back on those boats to go back. Meaning,
like
they bring in all those food, let's, not even food, but something else.
Just like how we ancestors are doing in the early age, we must think beyond the aspect of how we can create economical development and the sustainable growth around our
Point
people.
taken. And I certainly appreciate the interaction this evening. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so, yes, thank you very much, caller. And we have someone else holding? No. Okay, so before the caller called in, I was talking about the Newcastle police station. Of course, I did get to the point where at least we had this discussion with the High Command, the police High Command, and the Premier at that time was the Honorable Van Samry, and he would have said to me, Mr. Minister, it is up to you now to figure out a way to get it reconstructed. We're going to tear it down and you find a way. But let me backtrack a little, because in 2015, I can recall the Honorable Mark Brantley would have called me and tell me to come over to St. Kitts. Let's go down to Diet Bay and have a look at the police station that was constructed there through grant funds that were received from the Mexican, the government and people of Mexico. We went to that station. Of course, there are two stations, police stations they would have gotten, one in Diet Bay and one in Tabernacle. Now, the thinking was there were two other stations that would be donated to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I'll come back to that as well. Let's take this call. Caller, good evening. Thanks for calling. Welcome to On the Mark. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark. Okay, let's try again. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
I just left the site that you're talking about, and it's beautiful to behold. I would encourage a lot of people tomorrow afternoon to go to that opening of the groundbreaking ceremony. It's lovely. You can see the Atlantic. It's beautiful. And up there so cool and nice. You know, I'm a fan up there. It's so nice, Mr. Jeffers. I just left there 45 minutes ago.
Okay.
And I can tell anybody about it. It's a nice place.
You went because I said to go up there or what?
Mr. Jeffers, I'm out there since afternoon.
I know why you're up there, okay.
Well, don't tell nobody why you're up.
No, that's a secret.
Right.
That. But you're right, you're right. It is.
Yeah, it's lovely. I even said to the lady I was with, I said, y'all, buy up your nice boy who so lovely houses. And he said, you should come tomorrow afternoon. It's lovely, I tell you. And you look
well,
like,
I believe our people deserve the best, and we try our best to ensure that we do.
I commend you with that one day. Really, really, I love it.
Yeah.
I wish I could get up there because I wouldn't have no fun and no AC.
We'll go to school, and 5 years later, when you come home, we'll get you a spot.
Yeah, and somebody is building a house right up there to the end of the corner. And then when I see the line there for the water and the pole them for electricity, I say, man, I got to tap my hat to you. I'm coming over there to live.
Well, the choice is yours. Let's leave it as that.
Okay, let's try again.
Okay. Thank you. We have someone else holding caller. Okay. Well, thank you. Well, that's a ringing endorsement for University Heights. But let me go back to the police station because, like I said, the Honorable Mark Brantley would have invited me over to St. Kitts. I believe it was about April of 2015, because being a part of the federal government and cabinet, he was aware of the fact that there are 2 other police stations that would have been donated to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis by the government of People of Mexico. I want to develop the point, but I still want to give the callers a chance. So let's take this call. Let's cross over. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good evening, sir. Carl Brown here again.
Yes, sir.
You are asking, when boats come here, what we can give them to take back.
Mm-hmm.
Honorable Minister, we want you to produce and sell the most nuts, peanuts, that is, to a number of Caribbean islands.
Mm-hmm.
We now importing peanuts from other islands.
Mm.
Why are we not planting peanuts for local consumption? And why are we not exporting peanuts? We also used to export yams, tanya, dasheen. We got the best soil throughout the Caribbean for that.
Mm-hmm. I'm aware of that.
Why are we not doing that? In terms of things, we need to increase our pork consumption. You know that is very large.
Well, not consumption, Carl, but production, maybe.
Production, yes, production.
But as you bring
consumption.
up, before you move on, as you bring up pork, let's have a conversation here, because,
yes,
you know, I'm not bringing it up because of any, you know, issues in terms of, well, when we speak about pork, you know what some people think about. Let's leave it at that, right? But I was speaking about this some time ago, and I was asking, well, why is the pork being produced here in the Federation of St. Kitts at the price of $10 EC, whereas pork that comes from Brazil, for example, is priced at $4.50 a pound? And I made the point that, you know, the pork from Brazil, you have to slaughter, package, transport it via land to the port in Brazil, then it crosses the ocean all the way to Miami, and then it is transferred to another boat, leave there and come to the Caribbean and end up in St. Kitts Nevis, and then it's transported from the port here in Nevis, for example, goes up to Ramsden Best Buy, and it's still at $4.50. That is the question I've been asking. Well, how come they're able to get pork from that destination?
Let me answer that for you.
Answer that for me then.
In terms of raising a pig, you know, back in the day, my boy, because I grew up in Fountain Village, Ghana Party, and our pigs was fed with all kind of food, right? From our homes, from our gardens, right?
Still do, you
and
know?
Our fields.
They're still being fed that way, Carl. Okay.
Yes. And all of a sudden now, many years after, we now are feeding our pig, right, with imported feed. And now the imported feed is coming. Our pig weights have dropped tremendously while we were feeding our pigs with our own local consumption, and the weight was much better. Not only that, the imported feed is costing the pig farmers so much. So by the time you mother pig get all these young pigs, and for you to continually buy all this feed continuously, right? By the time that pig come to when you want to butcher it and to go into sale, it got to come up to that cost.
But what has become of the traditional way?
We used to do it back in the 70s, early 80s, and possibly into the early 90s.
And the quality of meat at that time was much better too, right?
Was much better. And what is coming in now, Honorable Minister, is nowhere close to our local pork.
I agree with you.
While we go the local way that we once used to do it.
Well,
right?
I remember, well, the thing is, the argument that would be made, though, is that back in the day you had just a few pigs, but people these days have almost 100. And to feed 100 pigs.
We can go back to the way we once used to do for those same few pigs.
I'm just throwing these things in.
The local food and consumption that we used to feed them.
Right. I'm throwing these things in, but I still want to look at.
And it will be
why.
cheaper.
Because if, for example, animal feed or these pig mash or whatever it is that they have to buy is expensive, because they're already subsidized by the government here on the island of Davis. I can
but
tell
the
you.
government should not have been importing that feed
Well,
while we have so much local consumption here, and while our local consumption used to give us significant weight.
Well,
now we are using that feed, our weight has dropped tremendously because you know that it's full with all kind of chemicals.
Mm-hmm. Well, perhaps
our
that's a
local
debate.
thing ain't had no chemicals.
That's a debate that needs to be had then, Carl, because
yes, we need to have that
back in
debate.
the day, I remember my grandparents, and I used to indulge in that too, boiling like papaya and that kind of thing.
And you see how big
using
those
coconut
pigs
and
used
all
to come
kind of
as big
things.
as heifers of calf, of cattle.
But
our pigs used to be so big, so at that time that you had to get 6, 7, and 8 persons to get that pig hold down, to get it to butcher.
So maybe our farmers need to get back to basics then.
Yes, we need to get back to our basic local feeding of our pigs, our goats. You see now, on Think It's Here, they are importing goats to say that when they have sex with our local goats, that the weight will come up. That is rubbish, brother man. Our local goats, right, were fed on local grass, bush, trees, and even agricultural products, right? Where you never used to throw away certain things that you peel off of the agricultural products. You will throw them in the pig pen, you'll throw them in the goat pen, you throw them to the cattle, the sheep, and the goats, and they will eat them. And we have significant weight. Our goats used to be so big that sometimes they're bigger than some of our children.
What I think we need to do, because when it comes to eating local and eating healthy, I believe we can get back to some of the traditional ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And of course, that would. Sometimes we have so many health issues and difficulties, and we wonder. We start to look back at our eating habits. What are we eating? But
Minister, that is what these medical fraternities, doctors, and all scientists and all kind of things come up now and telling you, oh, you're going to catch viruses, you're going to catch disease, and this and that is happening. I grew up in Ghana Park. My grandmother, my uncles, right, used to rear the pigs. I used to help them rear them, and we didn't import anything.
Yeah.
We gave them our local own stuff that is left back from our pots, left back from our garden and things. And our pig used to be so big, as I said earlier, bigger than some of our children.
So,
and now they're importing all these chemical stuff. The weight have dropped significantly. So the government now need to work with the local farmers that to ban these imported feed, right, and let the people go back to the local stuff and have significant weight, that we don't have to import no pig from this place, no goat from that place to increase the weight. That is rubbish, brother man.
well,
Rubbish.
I think based on the formula you're presenting, if, for example, we can get back to that and the quality of the meat is much improved as a result, I believe people will develop an appetite for our local meat.
I live in Ghana Park, and when you see my uncle and us kill a pig, even the balls and all have significant weight on it.
You are not eating those though.
No, yes, I ate them because we roast them when those pigs and goats and sheep and thing was butchered.
Yeah.
And that one of those balls full your belly.
Okay, Carl. All right. Well, you've made
the belly and all kind of thing. You could not eat a bowl of nothing.
Yeah. Okay. You've made a significant input this evening that we have to get back to basics in
We have
terms
to
of how
get
we
back
feed
to basics
these
and
pigs.
stop importing all these chemicals. You see all this cancer thing about pink this and cancer this and cancer that. It's re-causing it for ourselves because we move from the basic and gone to these imported stuff, and our people are dying very fast from cancer. Back then, where did you hear about cancer in the 70s, the early 80s, and 60s and so? You had nothing like that because we was using strictly local.
Okay, I hear you,
No
Carl.
importing foreign. Our people are dying. I remember in the 70s and 80s, Minister, we used to bury our mothers and grandmothers, our uncles. Now they are burying us because we were importing all these chemical stuff into our land, killing out our children, going past the elders and dying, and the elders have to bury them.
I think that is profound. That is profound. Thanks for your intervention and your input this evening. Appreciate that. But I think those are some important points that were made. But it's obvious that we got to get back to basics. But what I just want to get off of this. I don't want to prolong this whole talk about price, because when it's all said and done, people have choices. People will have choices whether they want to buy the imported pork or they want to buy the local pork. But when it's all said and done, price is always a factor for persons, especially when persons are on a certain budget. Then price become a factor, and if they need pork, they'll go and buy pork wherever it is the cheapest. But I do believe that cheapest is not always the best. But also, the price here on the island of Nevis would have to be looked at seriously in order to ensure that we can produce more and keep out some of these imports, because if we're able to be more competitive, if we can find a way, and the caller suggested that we go back to basics in terms of how we feed these animals, and that is a valid point, yes, but not too many persons seem to be inclined to go that way. But we still have to make sure we're looking at price. I can't say it no more, because I do believe that that is the way to go. But let me take this call before I go back to the point I was making, and let's entertain this caller. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark. Hello? Yeah, I think we lost that caller. But anyway, I'm going to leave that pork issue, because I leave it up to the farmers to determine what they will do and what they won't do. But I do believe that all of the conversations about pork coming from Brazil, we cannot ban the importation of pork from Brazil unless there is some outbreak that is, some disease or something of that sort that is impacting the meat that is coming from there, because we've signed on to so many conventions. And in terms of what the world, I forgot the name of the entity or the agency, something to do with trade. I forgot that. But anyway, let's leave that. But what I'm saying is that unless there is some major issues with the pork that is coming out of Brazil, for example, or Mexico, or wherever, then we cannot just up and ban it because it is cheaper. But what we can do here on the island of Nevis is find a way. Find a way. And that's all I'm going to say. We can have a discussion over and over again regarding that as time go by, but it is one that certainly needs some attention. But I was saying that when I was invited over to St. Kitts by the Honorable Mark Brantley back in 2015, April, we went down to the police station there at Date Bay. I can recall going on the Sim Bridge with a vehicle there, which is a stick shift, and we joked as we go along because the Honorable Mark Brantley said he can't drive stick shift because he, and that's these manual vehicles, because he got his license in New York. So, you go down the road in New York and drive an automatic vehicle and boom, you get your license and you're done. But here in the Caribbean, you have to go on the road and use your stick and everything, but that is just an aside. So we visited that and we came up with some ideas for the same one that we have over there at Newcastle at this time. Obviously, we never got a station in that particular package that was to be presented to the federal government. We were putting ourselves in a position to get one of those stations, but then the federal government would have gone in a different direction and would have said to the Mexican government that they need the water services in the Bastia area and surrounding areas improved. So I believe the grant funds were diverted to something else. However, or be that as it may, we were determined to have a new police station erected over there in Newcastle. So it's not something that started last week or last year or for that matter, or in 2017. We have been going through the process of ensuring that we had a new police station constructed over there. So when we tear down that station back in 2016 or thereabout, I believe, we had to find a way, and of course, federal government was not readily available in terms of, or funding from the federal government was not readily available, so we had to find a way. We'd have gone and borrowed $3 million from the First Caribbean Bank to finance that project. That we did. And of course, in recent times, you'd have heard the Prime Minister indicated that he would have given the Nevis Island administration $1 million towards the construction of that project. Well, we would have borrowed $3, and we got $1 million. Be that as it may, if we were to wait for the $1 million, you know exactly what time the station would have gotten started. So we had to get it started because we feel it was important to have that police station in the Newcastle community, serving the entire parish of St. James and beyond, because I do believe that the actual area that that station covers is from, let's say, at the bottom of New River all the way into the Cotton Ground area, because there's another police station there in Cotton Ground. But you have police traversing from just the bottom of Zion Hill and all the way back towards the Cotton Ground area, or wherever that they intersect, that's Cotton Ground and the St. James or the Newcastle, men from the Newcastle police station, that is. Be that as it may, we do believe that with all of the activities in St. James, you have hotels, you have a medical university, you have the residents and visitors who are in the area, and of course you have the airport, you now have a water taxi facility, you have so many different areas that need to be manned from time to time, or need to be traversed from time to time by the police in order to ensure there's peace and security in the area. So you know how important that station is to the area. I do have another call, so let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. It's just about 5 minutes to 10, so good evening. You're on the mark.
Yes, Carl Brown here again, Honorable Minister.
Carl Brown, try and be quick. We're almost out of time here.
Here's the thing. When we are talking about water, I remember in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, living in Nevis. We had water, and we also had drums where we collected water, and people had cisterns and that sort of thing. All of a sudden, everybody now is depending on the government water supply, and people eliminate the cisterns, eliminate the catchment of water from the rain on the roof and things, right? We need to go back to that, and if we go back to having drums, having barrels, whatever, right, cisterns and that sort of stuff, we must add that every house bill must have a cistern or some form of water catchment.
I agree with that, but the whole idea of going back to drums, Carl, if you're developing, you can go back to those days.
Cisterns, we can add it.
No, well, hear me out.
Everyone could sit down, and that could be part of the house.
I agree.
Must be part of the house.
Listen, Carl, listen me good. I agree that every house should have a cistern. But when you talk about catchment like drums and so forth and going back there, that is not a sign of development.
Well, okay, let me eliminate drums. Okay. Sorry about that. Christian Hartford now selling some big black things.
Carl,
right? That collect couple million gallons of water.
Okay. I hear you clearly.
We can add that if we can't afford a cistern.
Okay, Carl. I hear you clearly, and point well taken. Let's move on because we are almost out of time and I have to wrap up the show for this evening because airtime is expensive, and if I go beyond 10, I'll be charged for that, yeah? So thanks for your call, and we appreciate your input for tonight. But I didn't get to finish up about the police station. But of course, those of you who are not certain about where it's at, drive over to Newcastle, have a look at that station. I believe by January we should be able to have that station occupied, or the construction should be completed. We should have an opening hopefully early in the new year. I want to commend all of the persons who are responsible for taking us to where we are, the contractor, Mr. Jasper Stapleton, subcontractors such as the electrician who is Mr. Lawrence Brandy Backer, we call him, and plumbers and everybody, painters and everybody. I want to commend everyone for their effort there. But we'll talk about the station some other time, but we have done a wonderful job in ensuring that we bring that project to fruition and almost to completion. And I want to congratulate the policemen in advance, for a brand new facility that they would occupy in the near future. And we're hoping that they'll take care of it and make sure it's there for many years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had 2 hours with you this evening, and it's almost at the point of time where we have to, as they say, strike up the band and go home. But before we do, I want to, just as we did at the start of the show, encourage the entire Univision public to go on out and support the seniors on Saturday afternoon, 5:30 up there at the Cultural Complex. They would have their seniors pageant, second biennial pageant, and that should be a wonderful thing. I also want to say to you that this show is rebroadcast on a Thursday at 1 p.m. right here in the Caribbean's only powerhouse, 8:60 a.m. So what you missed this evening, you can get it tomorrow night. It was indeed my pleasure being here. It has been a long time. If I seem a bit rusty, forgive me, because when you're getting back to these type of activities, you have to shake off some rust. So I'm sure I'll have a chance to come back again soon, God's willing. But it was indeed my pleasure being here this evening. It was 2 hours well spent. I want to thank all the callers. I want to thank Joyce Moving for coming by earlier this evening. And I want to thank you for listening. It is always our pleasure to have you in our company. Without you, this is not a show, because we can come here and talk to ourselves. No one is listening. You don't get your message out to anyone. So once you're there listening, we certainly appreciate it. And that's the end of the show for this evening. Thank you for listening. Tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. for a rebroadcast. Have yourself a wonderful night's rest.